On Walkout Watch right now with us, we have Diane Douglas, State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Ms. Douglas, you have said from the beginning that this walkout has been premature, that these teachers should not walk out, that this is the wrong approach, it is unlawful. That obviously has fallen on deaf ears when you see the video from Sky 12 showing the tens of thousands of teachers making their mark, making this movement that has been unprecedented from Chase Field to the state capitol to make their voices heard to the governor. When you see that, obviously what you said fell on deaf ears. What are your thoughts as you see this movement?
Quite honestly, while I have long been an advocate since I came into office for increased teacher pay and for additional funding for our schools, this is a sad day for Arizona, because while they are making a statement, unfortunately, it's our children who will pay the price for it, and I support first and foremost our children and families.
Ms. Douglas, from where you sit though, you moved out here from New Jersey so that your child could go through an Arizona public education. But $1 billion has been cut since 2008. That can't ring well with you as the director of public education.
Well, what we need is a sustainable funding source for education. As we look around the West, as we look towards back east, we see that they have different mechanisms in place. Many states in the West use excise taxes. Back east, they own virtually all of their state land in order to help support their schools. We have some very specific deficits in Arizona, and that's what I've been talking about for over 3 years now. How do we look to ways to support our education system, specifically for our education system?
But as someone whose job it is to make sure that the kids of Arizona receive a quality education, how do you reconcile the fact that this legislature has cut and cut and cut from the education budget over the years?
Well, let's defending no one way or the other. I mean, the reality is we went through a recession, and Arizona was the state that was hardest hit, arguably, by that recession. It takes time, but I still think even through that, we look at some of the ways that we fund education in Arizona through our general fund, through sales tax, although I admit I had a plan and was a proponent for increasing our sales tax just a little bit. We have, for lack of a better word, I'd say many of our funding sources for this are very volatile ones based on the economy. I think we need to find a better way to do it.
So tell us where you stand with the governor. Are you for or against his proposal of 20% by 2020?
I certainly hope for our teachers that they're able to work that through. It does need to be viable, and I think they are explaining. Unfortunately, the wheels of government do grind slowly, and it takes time. That's why I had hoped that we would let it work through a little bit before we came to today. I hoped we never came to today.
But do you, as you look at these teachers, this massive movement in downtown, do you see where the teachers are coming from? Do you sense their frustration, and do you understand their frustration?
I always have. Since I've been in office, I created what we call the We Are Listening Tours. I've conducted almost 60 town halls all across Arizona. What I learned from that is overwhelmingly Arizonans support their teachers, and they want to see their teachers paid better. And I've been an advocate for that with different ideas and plans and how do we get this discussion moving as long as I've been in office. But I think they need to be in the classroom with children. If we got to a point where nothing was resolved and nothing was worked out, then arguably could this be a strategy? But not at this point in time. My heart and my prayers are with, we have special ed students, we have English language learning students, we have even what we call our gen ed students. They may be irreparably damaged if this goes on and on and on. And first and foremost, to me, I'm with our students and our families.
And the teachers say that they are with their students as well. I mean, this is very painful for them to walk out, but they have to think about their livelihoods as well. But I want to get to you. You say you understand the teachers when you see this video of them making this huge march to the Capitol. You've said before that there could be repercussions for this walkout. You've called this walkout illegal. You've warned that teachers could be taking a risk by walking off their jobs, that they could possibly be resigning their position. When you see these teachers do this, do you still feel that way?
Unfortunately, there are repercussions for actions. Strikes are illegal in Arizona. Our teachers cannot strike. And my duty at the department is, if a parent or the State Board of Ed or a citizen or whomever files a complaint against a teacher because of what they've done, and not just because of this, whatever the actions may be, our duty at the department is to investigate. We make a report to what's called the PPAC. We have lots of acronyms in education, the Professional Practices Advisory Committee, and ultimately it goes to the state board. My duties and responsibilities do not change with the size of the crowd.
Okay, but here's the thing. You already have, the state of Arizona already has a low number of teachers to begin with. The turnover rate is honestly ridiculous. It's very, very high. So you're willing to possibly strip some of these teachers of their certificate?
I would not be doing it, number one. My responsibility is to investigate any and all complaints that come against a teacher.
When you see tens of thousands of teachers marching out like that, you would be, I mean, the board would be willing to possibly strip their certificate?
I cannot speak to what the board could do. The repercussions could be anywhere from nothing all the way through to a letter of censure, which they routinely do to teachers who walk off the job, to potentially suspension or revocation. I certainly hope it wouldn't come to that. That's why I have been encouraging our teachers to stay on the job while the governor and the legislature work through a very viable offer to our teachers. But their duty first and foremost is to the children we serve.
But it's too little too late. I mean, you see them walking. That could cripple Arizona's education.
With all due respect, in my opinion, the vote that was taken last week was improper and wrong. At that point in time, there was a 20% salary increase on the table. The vote should have been, do we want to move forward with that and take a 20%, consider a 20% salary increase?
But in all fairness, and I understand what you're saying, but it was on the table, it wasn't done. There was no mechanism to fund that 20% at that point.
But we've seen, as the week has gone on, we're getting closer and closer to that end. And once again, this is hurting our children, and they will always be first.
All right, before we let you go, I want to ask you about when this starts eating into the summer vacation, because a lot of families have planned summertime. When do you start having to make up for school days or hours?
They arguably may need to make up for this day. There's a number of days that have to be met, and there are instructional hours that have to be met. So that will depend on how long this lasts, how all this plays out. We've had advice or information on our website for all the different areas, whether it's special ed students, whether it's food, health and nutrition for food services for children, and even some information for our school districts on the funding. That's our piece to play in this, to make sure everyone has the information that they need.
When you retire, you're going to want to have your legacy, I would think, be very positive, and that Arizona has come up from the depths of teacher pay, per pupil spending, things like that. Are you confident or optimistic at this point that before you leave office, the teachers will get the money that they deserve and want, and that we can raise Arizona up from the depths of the ocean?
We already are. We're seeing increases in our schools, in their academic achievement. Clearly, the issue of teacher pay is being addressed. Again, for me, an important piece of it is that it's sustainable, and that we can make sure that we can do it in a way that doesn't harm future generations of children also. That's very important to me, but we have to make sure that we provide the services for our children so that they have the potential for great futures also.
All right, State Superintendent Diane Douglas, we really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming into our studios and talking about this very important issue.
And if I just might add, you know, one of the things we have seen through this is our communities, our faith-based communities, stepping up and helping our students. And that, where this overall is a sad day for me for Arizona, to see our community come together like that speaks loudly.
And in the end, despite the problems with education, it is a great place to live, Arizona. And I think that all of us, no matter where you're coming from, want to see our kids and our teachers, the people that affect our children, benefit and at the end get what they deserve.
I wouldn't have raised my daughter anywhere else, and now we have a grandson, and proudly we'll have him go through Arizona schools also.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
I hope this is the beginning of something positive for everyone.